We are from the Aceh Sumatra National Liberation Front. I'm sorry I won't be able to turn my webcam on due to some technical difficulties. I apologize for that. Anyway, as you all know, now we are on the north tip of Sumatra Islands. Recently, as the government of Indonesia pushes self-determination movement to margins of societies and criminalize them, the people of Aceh who are struggling for the right to self-determination have no other choice except for obeying the centralized system. And until today, even none of the members of local elected parliament could express freely the desire of the Acehnese. Also, the government of Indonesia has neglected the fundamental human right of the Acehnese people to exercise their rights and for self-determination and independence. Especially under the Indonesian's law, Acehnese people have no right to express themselves freely. Non-violent self-determination and freedom of expression are restricted, if not entirely forbidden. For example, just by saying the word referendum or raising a flag other than the national flag could be punished under the Indonesian criminal law. On 15 August 2005, the government of Republic Indonesia and Free Aceh Movement signed peace deal called Memorandum of Understanding in Helsinki, which explicitly included human rights issues. In point 2.1, for example, the government of Indonesia will adhere to the United Nations International Conventions on Civil and Political Rights on Economics, Social, or Culture. Referring to this point of MOU Helsinki, Article 1 and the above covenant stipulate that, quote unquote, all people have the right to self-determination by virtue that the right they freely determine their political status and so on. In accordance to the Universal Declarations of Human Rights, the idea of free human being enjoying civil and political freedom from fear and wants can only be achieved if conditions are created whereby everyone may enjoy his civil and political right as well as his economic and social and cultural right. Here's our recommendations as Aceh Sumatra National Liberation Front. Would like to call the United Nations Special Rapporteur on minority issue to closely monitor the situations of the minority issues in Indonesia, and we're urging the government to fully recognize the right of Acehnese people to self-determination and fundamental freedom. Asnlf, through the United Nations Special Rapporteur on minority issues, call on Indonesia to stop human rights violations against the people of Aceh, and stop its government armed forces aggressively involved in acts of violence against the people those are struggling for self-determination. Lastly, I would like to say that Asnlf also would like to call the United Nations Special Rapporteur on minority issue to urge the government of Indonesia to make legal decisions so that the people of Aceh could exercise the right to freedoms of opinions and expressions publicly without fear.
To Indonesia, we've got a bunch of follow-up that we want to do in Pakistan related to our training program. I think Jahan, you know that already. Moni and Jimbe, I think we've already got sort of existing programs that we want to do with you all about reaching the United Nations. But I also think that we can use this meeting to start showing regional trends of repression that are coming out of all of the things that we're seeing, from economic development to military occupation and otherwise, so that we can really make a powerful case for you all. So for that, I'm grateful, even if I'm sad to hear all of the things that are happening. Mohammed, you put your video on, so maybe you have something to say. I'd be very pleased to hear it.
Yes, Rob. Hey, I think, I don't know if you remember me, but we met at the General Assembly in Savoy,
Yes.
3 or 4 years ago?
Yeah.
So we haven't spoke ever since, but to me, you look younger now. So all of us is getting older except you. So the reason I put my video on, just to make sure that we are Acehnese and South Moluccas and West Papuan, just to sit together before General Assembly in DC in this December. Just want to make sure on that one.
Let's make sure that happens. We will absolutely make sure that happens. I think straight after this, I know Merce she's been like messaging me every 2 seconds about trying to have a meeting amongst you all. So maybe let's try and set that up very, very quickly.
Sure, perfect. Because we tried to do this ever since we were in Savoy like 3 years ago.
Well, we're going to make sure it happens. I think we also had sort of challenges with like who was representing who. This is the same thing, and it's great now to have this sort of feeling that there are others here now that we can talk to. I will share you my secret of looking younger as I age, and the secret is to eat more and get fat, because then it fills in all of the wrinkles, and then you just, it kind of like puffs you out and you kind of look younger. That's the secret. Plus, the camera apparently makes you look bigger. So I highly recommend eating more. But you're from Texas, so you understand that.
So at least the U.S. Vice President have some inside info, before they go there.
Thank you very much, and thanks very much, Moni. And Abdullah, you had your hand raised.
Yes. I would like to echo what our friends from South Moluccas mentioned earlier in regard to the social media and stuff. The activists has been thrown in jail and all over the coast of our archipelago by Indonesian authorities. Such as recently, the Indonesian government has been monitoring very, very closely all sort of form of social media, and some could has been charged with the Indonesian's IT criminal law, which one could face up to life in prison. For instance, one of our friends in the district Sigli Aceh recently has been thrown to jail and currently facing the court. So I'd like to highlight this type of aggressions by Indonesia authorities not only occur in Aceh, yet in South Moluccas and West Papua. And I was wondering if there is a way that we can push this Indonesians social media such as Google or Facebook to stop working with Indonesian governments to push the independent activists to have their expressions being published online or such thing like that.
One of the lines that they have for us is that we're able to talk to them about issues that are happening in social media on behalf of our members, and raise it. They have direct lines into the likes of Twitter and Facebook and whatnot. And so if things are coming that you're really worried about, you can talk to us about it and we can push it. So that's on the sort of like the back channel way. More publicly, I've got lots of chats going actually right now, like different chats from in this call, and one of them is with my team getting really excited about the possibility that we might have a very specific meeting with the 3 members from Indonesia of the UNPO You know who you are, where we can all sit down and do some brainstorming about something very specific to Indonesia. We have had some recent success doing that on a country basis for big conglomeration countries. Had a really wonderful meeting with our Ethiopian members and a wider community in Ethiopia that has really raised our profile as an organization able to talk about the future of Ethiopia in front of policymakers. Very recently been very successful. We're trying to do the same with Nigeria. We've had a few meetings with Nigerian members recently, and I think Indonesia is ripe for us to have that kind of a conversation. I've been desperate for it, and I'm so delighted actually to see all of the members here from Indonesia back and more active and engaged with the UNPO, because we've had a bit of a gap with you all over the last couple of years. So I'd like to suggest that we do that actually quite quickly and try to have an online at least chat where we all get together and do some brainstorming about what we can do together on Indonesia. Shah Jahan, you have your hand up.